Hey Sam, it's Yoni here. I'm just dropping you a quick feedback as you requested. And just looking at your shot here from last week, it's looking fairly nice. And yeah, just wanted to see if I could give you some comments. You really establish quite a lot of good emotions there. I think that really kind of like the establishing shots are all great, you know. Time wise, if you want to focus more on him catching the ball, one of the things is that when he puts the baby down on frame 102, you've got some frames here round about 100 and almost 50. You've got about 50 frames there where he's just looking left, looking right, oh, up like that. You could really take the action that where he puts the baby down and his head just goes over. He can just, whoa, look straight up, round about at frame, maybe giving it a couple of frames, maybe around at frame 105, he can already see the actual ball being hit, because I think that a lot of the stuff at the beginning I really wouldn't change. It's got a nice weight to it. The hips are shifting around nicely as well. Looking at a few of the poses, the kid looks great because he's just kind of like completely spaced out and being moved around with no control whatsoever. And really, what you're missing, looking at what you have so far, is on frame 169, he throws the kid straight away and he's got no anticipation. So really what you'd want to do is add him ducking down, being one pose, grabbing the kid, then it's either he throws the kid and he stands up, or he stands up and the kid drags behind. Now you can do either or of those, and it would still work fine. It just depends on what you think should be appropriate. That gives a bit of time for the kid to actually fly out of shot over there. And the kid, when he's going out so far, he looks a tad bit rigid on frame 177 because it's like all of his limbs are just stretched out. There's no kind of like floppiness to it. And I think that kids generally, even when they're small, not that I've thrown too many babies, but they're much more kind of like flexible to an extent. You've always kind of like be holding their head, and they tend to droop really easily. So I think that you need kind of like a bit more of almost a ragdoll effect on him, so that there's much more drag in the kid's arms, especially, and not having he almost like looks like a crash test dummy on frame 177, just a bit too rigid. And so separate those actions out. So take the action, throw the kid out, stand up, jump over the fence as another beat. And then when he catches the ball, you can even have the ball have a nicer bounce. Maybe you could have the ball bounce off the. You've got a first tier of benches and you've got a second tier just slightly up. You could have the ball bounce off the second tier and fall down, because that way it looks like it loses the power that it's got a bit more kind of like faster, because the ball, it hits the bench and it looks like it's got no power at all. If it's been hit that far so that it actually reaches the benches, it's probably been hit pretty hard. So maybe having it bounce a couple of times and make the energy dissipate much, much, much slower is going to be better for you. And then he jumps up. On frame 180, you could possibly lower the hips just a little bit more so that the knee is slightly below the head at the front over there, and that way you just get a bit more of a silhouette, just a little bit better. Your arcs, it kind of like goes up, up, and across there. Try throwing an arc tracker on that and see it, because it seems like the arc is a bit wide like that. Maybe you want something that's a bit more of a sharper parabola there as well, so that he falls down a bit faster into the pose in frame 193. And nice grabbing of the ball. Maybe in between frame 207 and 209. You want a bit more of a twist on the hips. I think the hips are just very slightly, yeah, because it's kind of like his foot is sliding like that, and it kind of like touches the ground on frame 209 roughly, and then it keeps going back to frame 215. The hip should turn first, and the leg should just follow behind it like a whip. So it's almost like a couple of frames before frame 215, the hips have to reach, and then the leg just falls back into the final place like that. And so you're just breaking up the joints a bit so that the hips will arrive first, then the leg will fall into place, and finally he'll catch his weight as well. And probably you want a bit of a settle on the hips while he does that as well, so that he recovers, because he comes kind of like into a really, really, really squared and horizontal stance straight away, bit of a dip, and then the weight adjusts back into horizontal when his both feet are on the floor over there. He holds that up, he shakes his head, he gives a little jump. I really think the cap should fall backwards instead of falling forwards in front of him, because I think that the action of yes like this is much more likely for it to have his head basically fly, the cap fly back, rather than one, two, and it falls forward. That's just personal preference. I think it can survive with it like that, but it's also nice because it gets it out of the way pretty quickly. You can just have it fall back, and you can see it just drift behind him over there. And hopefully, with that, you should have about maybe another, 40, 50 frames roughly to actually play around with his kind of like reaction and get a bit more time there. Really leave whatever it is, you almost want to finish it and have kind of like just 10 frames at the end when the excitement has just stopped and he's recovering into a more normal position, whether that's with a moving hold or with just him actually panting and calming down. But yeah, I think you've got plenty of time there if you just work in that section between 100 and 150 and just literally edit it out, throw it out, and make him notice that the ball's coming towards him much, much, much sooner, and you'll have plenty of time to do loads of lovely stuff in between here. But hope that's useful, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you come up for next week, man. But great shot. Take care. See ya.